Oh. The bullfrogs are croaking.
Oh my God. It's time.
You should meet Jeff Sargent. This is Jeff Sargent's show, but I'm not on the air yet. Holy crap. What the hell happened to me?
Here it goes.
Here goes. I'm putting up my theme song. This is for punk lighting.
I know what time it is when I hear this theme song. How about you, Janky?
I do too. It's time to get our S together and hop in the saddle.
Oh my God, we got to do our show.
We do.
Yes.
And one of our two guests is already here. Christopher from Palm Springs.
No. He's from Long Beach.
Yeah, but the play is in Palm Springs. We want him to see it.
Yeah. Let's do it. Let's do
you
this right.
Drawing to Long Beach?
The people can commute out. It's not that far of a drive.
Okay, let's start this over. Hey, I'm Jeff Sargent and my co-host Janky.
Greetings, morning, people.
Nobody in the control booth.
No one in the control booth anymore. Not even a ghost.
And our guest, Christopher Carver.
How ironic. A guy starring in Psycho the Musical, and his name is Christopher Carver.
Ah, punny.
Yeah.
Now, I throw that joke out to the late Forrest Ackerman.
Oh, here we go. Hey, we got a call from Paul Hartman. Let's get it. Where's my mouse? Okay.
Hey, Paul.
Paul.
Hello.
Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Welcome to Chaotic Radio on the Jeff Sargent Show.
Good morning, Jeff.
And this is Janky, and our friend Christopher are in the booth and listening to you speak, Paul.
Incredible. Sounds wild out there.
How are things in Ottawa?
Toronto, to be precise. It is quite sunny here today.
Oh, very nice.
Yes. It's going to be 27 degrees Celsius.
Wow.
You can keep it.
Canada's pretty cool, eh?
Well, we do live in igloos.
Yeah, that's horrible. Wow.
We're enjoying our overcast weather here.
Yeah, we're having June gloom in May, and it's fantastic here.
Excellent. At least you're not barbecuing.
Yeah. Well, hey, Paul, I didn't realize you had a comedy career. How long have you been doing this?
About 40 seconds.
Oh, wow. And with that, amazing though. Were you in a Groundling as well?
No, I wasn't. I'm shy.
Oh.
I'm the shy Hartman.
Yeah, Paul is let me do a little setting up here. I'm sorry. Paul is a comedian. He's out of Canada, and his brother was the late, great Phil Hartman of Saturday Night Live and Pee-wee's Big Adventure fame.
He was indeed.
Wow. And, but, you know, I don't know if Steve Joyner told you, my brother Donald and I did an Entertainment Weekly photo shoot with your brother at his house. Oh,
incredible. When was that?
Back in the wild 90s. It was originally when he did as a lark for Entertainment Weekly. He did a Bill Clinton thing where it was supposedly a flashback. We were Arkansas State Troopers bringing him a Playboy Playmate. And we spent the day with your brother. We spent like 17 hours at the house, and he was a really cool cat. I really enjoyed him. But what shocked me is how much stuff he did. I mean, he had a framed Poco album he designed the cover of several musical albums, including one for Poco.
Oh, yeah. He did so much art. I ended up owning a portfolio of his work after he passed, and I just looking through it was incredible, because he started drawing when he was, I'd say, about 10 years old.
Wow.
And it just, and I was 5 years younger than him. So, watching him do that was amazing because, I'm retarded. I take a pencil. I have a hard time writing my name. And so that always fascinated me. And in a project, I'm animating Phil's comedy album, Flat TV. And we've taken cartoons from his doodle file and turned them into characters in it.
Really?
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, and I'll have Tracy send you the link for the sizzle reel on it. It's so amazing to
We would love that.
The Flat TV was done to be his animation voiceover demo.
Wow.
Right? And then he did Pee-wee right after that, and it just exploded. Saturday Night Live, that happened, and then all that stuff just got lost, right? And to me, when I heard it just as an audio piece, it was lacking that element. And when we started animating it, the director, Brian LeMay, the first clip he did was the Nescocaine clip. And he used characters from Phil's doodle file. And the premise of that clip is it's Phil's version of Graham Coor, the galloping gourmet, right? And he called him Graham Cracker.
Oh.
And it's the Nescocaine commercial, right? And my God, it turned out so incredible that Brian decided to just jump in and do the Groucho Marx You Bet Your Life clip, which Phil does all the voices in that one as well. And so, and the director actually got his master's for doing it. That was his master's thesis, was that clip. And the 3D of it is just spectacular.
Wow.
So
By the way,
we're really excited about all the stuff that's going on with that right now. It's all kind of coming together really fast. And the whole premise is that we're going to try to get Phil an Oscar in the animated short category with it.
Wow. I was just looking over Brian LeMay. That's amazing. He's a famous Canadian animator. He worked with Ralph Bakshi on Rock and Roll. He worked on The Smurfs, Teddy Ruxpin. We're just looking over his credits. Kind of amazing.
Teddy Ruxpin.
Inspector Gadget.
I'll tell you, I met him years and years ago trying to get him involved in another Phil project, which he is now involved in, another animation project called Yogi and the Kid, which was the only cartoons Phil ever drew that he intended to be animated.
Really?
He drew them in the 70s while he was living in Malibu with his first wife, Gretchen Lewis.
Wow.
And our oldest brother, John, was living across the street in the Colony with a rock and roll band he was managing.
An old hippie.
Yeah. John's a music legend. He's a Heller Award-winning manager agent.
Wow.
And the first artist he signed was Sonny and Cher.
Wow, really?
So his history is he put the Eagles together. Look at the Desperado cover, the inside photo.
Oh, he's one of the dead suits, right?
No, he's the sheriff in the black hat.
Because the Desperado album, the Eagles famously put all the suits there playing corpses of supposedly people they executed.
Well, it's all the Eagles are on the ground. It's
they're
Eagles,
dead. Okay,
Jackson Brown and J.D. Souther, right? And then Boyd Elder is the guy who did the painting of the skull on one of the covers. He's there.
Oh, for their logo,
Richard
right?
Fernandez, the road manager, Larry Penny. Glenn Johns, the producer, Armac Holbert, who was the road manager, I believe, at that time. I believe our tour manager. And then my brother and there was somebody else. I can't remember who it is.
Yeah.
Gary Burden.
Wow.
I believe.
Wow. It's interesting, because running around Phil's house on that shoot that day, I noticed he was a huge Remington fan. He had Remington paintings everywhere you looked, Well,
Phil is a really good painter.
Wow.
And one of the things, I don't know, let's see, the 90s, was there a Jackson Pollock on the wall in the house?
I remember Poco, and I remember he had a cowboy motif in the family room and the hallways. Where
Phil was an art forger. He was like, I remember he did this painting that looked like a Jackson Pollock, and I walked in and I was like, wow, who's Jackson Pollock? And he goes, well, I'll never be able to afford one, so I just made one. But he could do that. He could do that in so many different styles. I mean, you look at the America Greatest Hits album cover. That's a watercolor painting in pen and ink, right?
That was on the wall too. They had he had the Poco one. He had the America one. Those were on the wall going into the family room.
Yeah.
And I noticed after he passed, I noticed the only difference in the house that I'd been in is obviously after News Radio became a huge hit series, he added a giant fence, which he didn't have when we did the shoot.
So you were talking about the house on Norwich?
Yeah, we're talking on when you're driving in Encino and you go to the right, heading towards Encino. That was the house. Yeah. It was that house because he lived like a mile away from a great used bookstore.
Yeah.
I know after we did the shoot, he gave me directions to this terrific used bookstore we had over to,
Yeah, he loved books. He had quite a library in the house.
It was funny because he had Backstage Saturday Night Live on his bookshelf, and I was quizzing him on it, and he was laughing to prove he was basically proving he read the book by mentioning different sections. It was cool,
Did you stump him at all?
I didn't try to. What impressed me is the girl we did the photo shoot with. I'm blanking on her name. But she was one of the fembots in the original Austin Powers.
Oh wow!
And that impressed him as well. You know what I mean? I mean that we had a fembot in our presence.
Yeah.
Yeah, because but now were you always a comedian, or was this something you developed afterwards, or?
Oh no! Growing up around Phil and John, it was John would. When he started in the mailroom at William Morris, he was still living at home, and the three of us shared one bedroom, right? And this was in Westchester on La Tijera Boulevard, 9648 La Tijera.
Wow. And this is in Westchester, New York, or Westchester, L.A.?
L.A.
Wow.
We lived right next to the L.A. airport. The L.A. airport ended up buying our house for clearance land for a new runway at some point.
Wow.
So all that's left there is the address on the street, right?
Wow.
And so we grew up in Westchester, and Phil went to Westchester High, and then and that was where his whole acting thing really started to happen, right? And the art stuff. I remember that he used to make extra money. You remember back in those days, they had these binders that you used in school, and they had like almost kind of a blue denim cover, right?
Right, I remember that.
Yeah, and Phil used to take what was called back then a rapidograph pen. And they were an India ink pen that artists use for drawing, right?
Oh, yeah.
And he would do really intricate drawing cartoons that covered the whole cover all the way around on both sides. And they were Mad Magazine inspirations of insanity, right? And some of them very political. I mean, if anybody has one of those things, oh my God, I would love to see one of those.
Wow.
That's a collector item.
He'd do them for $20, right? Which was a lot of money in the 60s.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And then the other good one he did, and he did an incredible painting of Jimi Hendrix that was taken from the Electric Ladyland cover. Yeah. That's the one where it has that photograph of him on it, right?
Right.
And he did a giant stipple painting of it that was about 6 feet by 6 feet.
Oh, wow. Where is that painting now?
It was for somebody, and nobody seems to be able to remember who it is, right?
Wow, it could be hanging in someone's house, and we'll never know.
Yeah, well, he did it while they were all living in the Malibu colony with this band. And so it was somebody in the colony that he painted it for. And I don't think it was Larry Hagman, but it might have been. He lived a few doors down.
Now, when you said you were in the Malibu colony, are we talking Zamaris Drive?
I don't remember it as Zamaris Drive. It's the one right there on the beach, right?
Yeah, because
I thought that was just Malibu Beach Road, wasn't it?
I did a couple. I do magazine interviews as well. I've done magazine interviews, and I remember I interviewed Leo Penn, and Leo Penn, the famous TV director, the father of Chris Sean and those guys. He lived literally right on the Malibu beach, and his next door neighbor was Martin Apocalypse Now, Martin Sheen.
Oh yeah,
Martin Sheen. Yeah,
and
it was so much fun. Like I would hitchhike from my parents' house in Westchester up there every weekend.
Wow.
And so on one side there was Paul Newman and Joanne Woodward, and then on the other side directly was the jazz musician Charles Lloyd.
Wow.
And then there was Larry Hagman. and it just went down the beach like that, you know.
Wow, that's
and
trippy.
Hagman was a whole foursome himself, you know.
You know what? Let me ask you about that, because I've heard too many Hagman stories to let this go. I mean, this is back in the I Dream of Jeannie era, right?
Yeah, absolutely. This is the 60s, right? 69,
wow.
you know.
Yeah, because one of the stories... Oh, go on. Talk about Larry Hagman.
He would dress up like a friar, a monk, and with the hat and everything in the brown robes, you know, and he would march down the beach playing the flute, and he would have every kid and dog on the beach following him.
Wow.
You know?
Like the Pied Piper.
It was hilarious. Yeah, he was the Pied Piper of Malibu Beach. That was a great time. What a wonderful place.
Wow.
Leading them straight into the riptide.
Right, I remember.
Absolutely.
Barbara Eden wrote her autobiography a couple years back, and she basically says he was a giant drunk, and if he was having a bad day, depression or whatnot, she remembers the couch on the set, you know, the couch in every episode of I Dream of Jeannie they can't get rid of. He's mad at the producers, so right before they tape an episode, he unzips his fly, urinates all over the couch, but they need it for continuity. So she said the lights of the set hitting the urine-stained couch was making everyone ill.
Oh, my God. Well, you know, back then he wasn't a drunk. He was on acid all the time.
Wow.
What other famous neighbors did you have in 16 Malibu? Talk about this. I'm really curious.
Oh, well, there was lots of bands, you know, that got in down there. So, and my oldest brother had this band Rockin' Foo, and those were the first two album covers that Phil did were for the band Rockin' Foo. So it was Babylon at the beach. It was, you know, 1969. Think about it, you know.
Wow.
Yeah, there was a lot of acid going around.
Naked beach orgies and lots of marijuana and you know, and not any alcohol. Really, nobody drank. You know, alcohol was evil. You know, the
That's
hippies
hilarious.
didn't do it. You know,
The hippies would touch alcohol, but they were going to fry their brains.
You know, get natural, smoke a little weed, you know, and drop a few acids, mushrooms, you know.
Yes, absolutely.
Well, Paul,
we were definitely pushing the boundaries, and that. Let's see. John also had the. You know, where the Aquarius Theater was, the Earl Carroll Theater.
Yeah.
Well, John had the Kaleidoscope there, which was the equivalent, Los Angeles equivalent of the Fillmore, right?
Wow.
And that was in the 60s, you know, I think about 3 years in the 60s, right? And that was where I went to all my first concerts. Like, I went to opening night there, and it was a band called Fever Tree. the Jefferson Airplane, and Canned Heat.
Canned Heat, wow.
Oh my God,
Yeah.
Boogie with Canned Heat.
The lead singer always sounded like, when you hear it somewhere in the country, when you hear that song, he always sounds like Kermit the Frog to me. You know, don't you think? Can you hear? Can you see? Can you hear that, Paul? When when I hear that?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And I have to ask, did you know one of Larry Hagman's neighbors? Did you know a producer named Jack H. Harris?
I did not know him. Sterling Hayden was another one of the neighbors. And Christian Hayden and I hung out together a lot.
His son, right?
Yeah.
His son, by the way, Sterling Hayden, for those who you guys don't know, he's the corrupt Irish cop McCluskey in The Godfather. More importantly, they offered him the role of Quint in Jaws, and he basically told them he'd rather go fishing than see the movie, than pretend to be fishing in the movie. Wow.
Yeah, and what's the one where he plays the wacky military guy? What was that movie?
Not Long Goodbye.
Peter Sellers is in it too.
Yeah, Alice B. Toklas. It's not Alice.
No. The one that's the Doomsday plot.
Yeah. Dr. Strangelove.
Oh, Dr.
Strangelove. Yeah.
Wow.
Black and white. That was in black and white.
How was he?
Yeah.
How on the times you met Sterling on your way to get high with his son Christian? Was he a hard guy? Was he a cool guy? Tell us about Sterling.
Sterling was a womanizer and a drunk, and smoked big cigars all the time.
Wow!
But was really nice, and his son was the first conscientious objector.
Really?
Or yeah, and he actually pulled it off. And didn't have to go to prison. And he and I used to sit and have really cool conversations. He was quite a character. One of my favorite things was trying to think up ways that, and this is coming from a conscientious objector, I want you to know.
Of course.
We would say, like, okay, if you're going to kill somebody, how are you going to do it? First, we got to set up some rules and parameters. And first, it has to be visual, right? It has to be visual for as many people as possible. And it has to take as long as possible. But the ultimate outcome had to be death. So the best one that we came up with was tying somebody under a windmill and hanging strings with marshmallows tied to them. And they would come around and hit you in the head, right? And eventually they would get stale and hard and pulverize your skull. So, it was
wow.
We're wasting your talents. You're going to be using these, implementing these torture techniques in Southeast Asia.
They should be used now on certain people.
I have a job in your in American government. I could get some work under your new director of the CIA. I'm sure.
That would be fun.
We'll do it on the roof of a still functioning Vandy Camp's restaurant and tie them to the windmill.
Good luck to you.
They still have those?
Yes, there's one in Arcadia. It's
no. That one just collapsed.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, that
it
window
was
just
spinning
collapsed.
around and then it broke and it crashed through
the ceiling
roof.
of the Denny's. Yeah, it was one of the last working Vanderkamp windmills.
I always loved the Helms Bakery thing, man. I remember Phil and I, we'd wait, we were donut fiends. And those things, they came around, and that was just the greatest,
Well, speaking of which, are you a Timmy Horton man now that you're in Canada? Are you Timmy?
Toxic Tim's? Toxic Tim's?
Yeah.
You only drink Tim's if you have to.
Screw you. If it's good enough for Gordie Howe, it's good enough for me, I say. Wow. Are you a hockey fan?
I am. I like junior hockey.
Oh, you're not an Oilers man?
of course, everybody wants to see the Leafs win in their lifetime.
Right. That'll never happen. It's like the Cubs.
But I'm kind of, this whole thing with the Las Vegas Knights is pretty freaking crazy, eh?
Isn't it?
I mean, you just want them to win because it hasn't ever been done, you know? But I'll tell you, that display they put on when they started the games, the whole thing with the jet and the cutting it in half with the sword, and I was just like, oh my God, is this what it's come to?
No, it's like that out here too. If you go to like a Mighty Ducks game and they're playing the Red Wings, they will take a stuffed Red Wings player, an effigy, and have Wild Wing, their duck, tear him apart. It's like a Nuremberg rally. Wow.
Holy smoke, eh?
It's pretty serious. Hey, now, Paul, when did you become publicly a comedian?
I'm not a comedian.
Oh.
Well, yes. Well, to us, you are.
Yeah, you're very funny.
Holy shit, huh? Wow.
You're very funny.
We're ready to book you at some of these clubs down here.
Oh, yeah. Hey, is John still with us? Is your brother?
John, yes. John lives in Topanga Canyon. Yeah.
Wow. Okay, he's still a producer then. All that sweet Eagles money.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, he has a beautiful little place, and him and his wife live there, and he writes. That's what he's doing now. I'm pitching screenplays of his here in Canada.
Oh, wow. Now, let me ask you. When did you finally move to Canada?
I came back in 2005.
Oh, I thought you were a conscientious objector who didn't go very well.
Well, I heard it was
I lucked out. I was in the lottery for Vietnam, and on the last call they called all the way up to 100, and I was 125. So I got out the easy way.
Yikes! Wow.
I wouldn't have gone. I would have come back. My brothers wouldn't have let me go. So.
Good.
They both had bad feet, so they didn't have to go. They had club feet almost. High arches.
Wow, that's terrible. Go on, Jeff.
Well, did you just follow through and say, if so-and-so wins this election, I'm moving to Canada?
No. Well, I have a spotted pass, gentlemen.
Oh, so they walked you to the airport. Did they help you on the plane, Paul?
More like drove me to the border in a kennel cage. I don't know if you know, but I beat prostate cancer 3 years ago using cannabis oil.
Really? Congratulations, brother.
I'm a lifelong cannabis user. Phil gave me my first joint.
Wow. How old were you? How old are you and how old was him? He.
I was 14. He was 19. And he said to me when he gave it to me, and John would be first generation hippie, Phil would be second generation hippie, and I would be third, right?
Uh-huh.
And when Phil gave me my first joint, he said to me, Paul, alcohol is for people who don't care and don't care to think. Cannabis is for people who care and care to think.
Wow.
And that really stuck with me. And so like anything my brothers liked, the music business was fueled on cannabis and psychedelics in the 60s. And it developed its own culture, as you're well aware of, in California.
Yeah, it's legal now.
Well, and I grew up there, and I loved cannabis, and I dove into it, and I did my first smuggle when I was 19 years old.
Awesome.
I backpacked 100 pounds of weed to Bisbee, Arizona.
Wow.
And with 25 other people. And then it went on from there, and I got arrested a few times. I mean, because I'm a Canadian, eventually I was a legal medical grower after 98 in Southern California. I have a big farm down there. I have a 139-acre farm down there where
Really?
Awesome.
ex-wife lives. And we had 480 acres that was certified organic produce, and we were doing 5 farmers markets a day between San Diego and Malibu, including Hollywood and Pacific Palisades and Beverly Hills, all those places. And we were selling a phenomenal amount of produce and growing incredible organic medical cannabis that was going into Hollywood. Wow. And eventually I started growing psilocybin mushrooms, and that led to me having an incident that led to an arrest, and I went to prison for 3 years for that, and then was deported to Canada.
Wow.
Man, that's just, I mean, going to prison for something that grows natural. That's what I don't understand. You know, it was here longer before people were here. Mushrooms.
Well, all right. And then we get to the place where I get my cancer diagnosis, right?
Thanks. Yeah. Tell us more.
And in my personal statistics in my life, at the same time I was diagnosed, 6 of my friends were diagnosed with different cancers. One of them, 2 of them, partners of mine, right? Wow. One was Angel Rosenthal, instrumental in getting Phil his stars on Canada's Walk of Fame and Hollywood. Wonderful woman. She also consulted with Mike Thomas on the book. You might remember me, Phil Hartman. And she got diagnosed with cancer. You there?
We're listening.
Okay. She got diagnosed with cancer, goes in for her first chemo treatment, and it kills her.
Wow.
That happens to 2%. Another friend of mine, a client, Jean Ravnig, he and Geir Wergeson are considered the Lennon and McCartney of Norway, incredible songwriters. John passed about 2 years ago. You know, he had a little skin cancer, you know, Norwegian, and
metastasized. Wow.
Let it go, and it went into the lymphs. And,
oh no!
You know, and then one day we got the message that he's dead, you know, and that I don't think he made it 8 months.
Jeez.
And nobody made it 2 years who took the standard route. And I was like, you know what? I've been reading all about this. I read everything I could about cancer, from Otto Warburg's Nobel Prize for the discovery of the cause of cancer, poor oxygenation of the cell. I researched all the other ways to approach it, and I went ketogenic, vegan. Ketogenic diet is a diet that was originally developed to aid children who couldn't take seizure medicine because the overdose level on it for infants is so high, right? And when you eliminate all the things in your diet that create glucose in your system and you transfer it to fats, it stops the seizure reaction in these children. In cancer patients, what it does is cancer feeds on excess sugar in the body and lives in an environment that is extremely acid.
Wow.
Sugar creates that environment.
Oh, no.
As soon as you eliminate the sugar, you weaken the cancer.
Wow.
You get it feeding on the fats. Your body does incredible things when you make this adjustment. And in combination with the cannabis oil, it creates this apoptotic cell death scenario, where apoptosis is when a cell, what happens to a cancer cell, and I'm going to abbreviate this really quick for you. Here's the process. Poor oxygenation of the cell happens in all kinds of ways, right? Environmental things, pollutants, genetics are a very small part of it. Genetic cancer is very rare. So the cell starts to get polluted, your body is not throwing off toxins. They build up in the cell. Everything in the body is programmed to survive, right? That's in your DNA. So the cell tries to figure out a strategy to survive, right? Your body pH gets very acid from the sugar, and that creates another environment that is suitable to cancer. In that process, the cell, in its effort to stay alive, takes in that sugar, all it can, into the cell. It ferments in the cell, further exacerbating the problem of getting oxygen exchange in the cell. And it starts to do something very unusual. It fully differentiates from what a normal cell is, and it starts to grow out of control. That is the point when it becomes cancer. Now, there's all kinds of ways you can repress that reaction. Changing your diet, juicing heavily changes your pH and raises it up and makes the body more alkaline. That's why you go vegan when you get a cancer diagnosis, right?
Yeah.
The whole approach to cancer is to be proactive, right? Chemo and radiation and those things should be used as the last resort because they destroy the immune system. And the disease is an immune system issue. Now, the cancer cell does a very interesting thing when it fully mutates. It develops receptor sites on the outside of it that are specific to cannabinoids. What this means is that throughout our evolution, we evolved alongside this plant. They actually now have discovered that you can have a shortage of cannabinoids in your system that lead to all kinds of body regulation problems.
Wow.
Right? And you start to think about it. Well, all right, so how did it look when cavemen were around? Like, they weren't smoking it, but the dinosaurs were probably fucking eating the shit.
Yeah.
And they're eating the dinosaurs, right?
Right.
So they're getting their cannabinoids through diet, right? And now we just are discovering that juicing the fresh plant is one of the best ways to attack any illness because the cannabinoids are at their freshest state, and the highest level of antioxidants that are available in it also impact that. But the great thing is when these cannabinoids attach to these receptor sites on the cancer cell, they go into it and they convince the cell to do something that is totally mind-boggling, and that is cell death, apoptotic cell death. It commits suicide.
Jeez.
Wow.
That's dark.
And so for some people, I mean, like, and a very close friend of mine, one of the biggest Canadian comedians, a partner of mine on a podcast we do called The Green Crush on Tuesdays here in Canada, Alan Park, stage 4 diagnosis with prostate cancer, into his bones, all over his body. They sent him home to die.
Wow.
Starts doing cannabis oil. It's now almost 4 years later.
Wow, that's great.
And I'll tell you, it's turned him into a revolutionary. And go check him out. He was in the Royal Canadian Air Farce on CBC television here. And there's lots of videos of him on YouTube. He is a funny frickin' guy.
Well, now when you make for topical cancer, like skin cancer, is that you take the oil, the cannabis oil, or
I have
how
a
does
story
that
about
work?
a friend of mine in Santa Barbara. I have another friend of mine in Santa Barbara. He, a fisherman, right? A surfer, always in the sun, fair-skinned guy, gets a skin cancer, cigarette smoker, right?
Yeah.
Puts it off, the skin cancer, he lets it grow. It grows all the way down from his ear, down his neck, down to the center of his chest. And then, so he goes to the doctor. They go, oh, man, you got spots on your lung. Your prostate's all fucked up. And there's nothing we can do for it. And so he goes and he makes what they call the holy anointing oil, which is a recipe from the Bible that has cannabis oil in it.
Wow.
And, a bunch of other stuff. And he starts rubbing it on it. And then he's taking the oil orally and taking it as a suppository as well. And in 128 days, in 3 months, the whole skin cancer dried up, turned to a scab, and fell off.
Wow, that's great. That's
and
awesome.
Everything cleared up. And now what he does is, and he kind of coached me, and he said, you just get it into your body every way you can. He goes, the fresh cannabinoids really were dramatic. And now he does it annually. He does every year after harvest, he goes through the whole cycle again, right? Mm-hmm. And he freezes a lot of the bud so he can juice it and stuff like that. But it's a continual battle. You can manage cancer. It doesn't have to kill you. Some people, there's no hope for them. Their immune system gets so fucked from radiation and chemo that, by the time they try the cannabis oil, if they can't get it up to the max level, you got to get it. And I'll give you an example. Alan, he had the highest PSA numbers I've ever heard of. It was like he got all the way up to 1,300. I was only 12.7, right? And he did a round when his numbers were at like 700 and something, right? And he did a round of oil, and it knocked it in half. And his doctor was like, "How the fuck did that happen?" Right? Like, that's not right. And he wasn't telling the doctor what he was doing, right? And because they weren't giving him chemo or any. Actually, he did do a little. I think he said 2 radiation treatments, and that was it. And he couldn't do it. And so then his numbers he lapsed, and then his numbers shot way up. And then he did 3 90-day courses in a row. But the second course and the third course were more condensed. They didn't take a month. They took 3 weeks, and then the next one he did in 2 weeks, right? Which meant he got his level up as high as you could get it. And it knocked his PSA all the way down to 1.5.
Fascinating, yeah.
That's great, man.
Yeah. It's crazy.
I need to hook you up. My friend, one of my close friends, he's an Englishman, but his girlfriend has been going through cancer treatment, and I should hook him up and you exchange some information, and he could explain what her cancer condition is, and because he doesn't agree, they don't like doing the radiation. She's like totally against that,
Wow, yeah.
Well, I think it's smart, I mean, you got to look at what's going on with your body, people aren't willing to be as proactive as they need to be. You got to be serious about what you put in your body,
Yeah.
We're a complicated chemical factory, and if we want our chemical factory to work good, we got to put good chemicals in it.
Right.
And it's that simple, right? And so, and that doesn't mean that you're still not going to get cancer, because we have so many things that exacerbate the problem. For me, I go to a special German doctor, educated in Germany, who isn't a homeopath really, but uses some German technology that you only see homeopaths using here. And there's something called Vega testing. And it works on principles of physics. Everything in physics has a measurable frequency, which is an electronic signal, right? So every pathogen has a frequency, every medicine, every pathogen, every food, like a table knows it's a table because it has intelligence on a subatomic level, right? And that's because everything is made of atoms. What determines what something is the speed of the electron in the atom, right?
Yeah.
And so, we are heading into some medical discoveries that have been going, like one of them, I got into a post-patent study during my cancer treatment, right after I beat it. Because I was using cannabis oil, this doctor invited me into her post-patent study on something which is now called MARS, which is Magnetic Air Resonance System.
Wow.
And what it does is an atom is a little electronic field known as a torus, right? Your body has a personal toroidal field, a magnetic field, that looks like a donut, just like the Earth has one, right?
Right.
And our solar system has a torus, okay? So you're made of 36 trillion toruses, right? That's what atoms are. And what happens to you on a subatomic level when you get ill is your atomic makeup or blueprint becomes disrupted. And I don't know if you've seen the movie Elysium.
Yes,
Elysium, yeah.
Okay, that machine exists today.
Is it like the Rife telescope?
Rife locked in on many of the principles. And the problem with how he did it was he needed electricity to do it to create the frequency. And EMF
to shock and destroy it, right?
Yeah, the EMF is part of the problem. So he could take things to a certain level, but not all the way. This device does it through motion, and it creates a toroidal field, the first synthetic torus field, 18 feet in diameter. And you sit inside the sweet spot of the field, and it basically resets your atomic blueprint. And from that point on, the things that happen in the field are things like this. No pathogen that is harmful to a living genome can exist in the field.
Wow.
No chemical that would hurt a living genome can exist in the field. It either turns it into its harmless carbon subcomponents or delineates it completely. A beneficial pathogen is bolstered. And that's where the intelligence in physics comes in. The frequency has intelligence. And this has been studied now at one of our most important schools here in Canada, Laurentian, in Dr. Persinger's laboratory for, I think about 8 years now.
No. Paul, can I ask what you do? What do you exactly do in Canada?
I've primarily been working on Phil Hartman projects, and since my cancer thing, I've been speaking on cancer and cannabis and animating Flat TV, Yogi and the Kid, and movie projects. That's pretty much it.
Well, that sounds like a full schedule.
And is Yogi and the Kid Yogi Berra or Yogi Bear?
No, Yogi like an East Indian.
Oh, no. like Paramahansa Yogananda.
Exactly. And it's about a young Western boy. And these two characters, the yogi, my oldest brother, John, is a yogi.
Wow.
No, are you?
He's 75 years old, and he can touch his chin to his toes.
Wow, that's amazing.
So Phil modeled this character after John, and then the kid was his Gretchen Lewis's brother, which Gretchen was Phil's first wife. Her brother, Herman Lewis, was kind of a petulant little Malibu beach brat, right? and that was the premise, was that the yogi and the kid would try to answer the hard questions in life in the most comedic way possible. And so we have our first pilot episode is just now. Our pitch package, we've really done an insane job on it. It's an animated, fully colorized storyboard that's turning out quite good, and we're about to start pitching it up here in Canada.
I covered Futurama, and I remember one of the producers telling me that they had planned on multiple characters, including Zap Brannigan being voiced by your brother, you know?
Yes. Matt Groening, what a classy guy he is,
And you pronounced it right.
Yeah.
I pronounced it wrong a lot. But I have so much respect for the man. I mean, when in Hollywood, when they don't replace you,
yes.
That is ultimate respect. And to me, that was the classiest move done the whole time during all the crap, They
laid all his characters to rest. The Lionel Hutz and the Yuma and Troy McClure based on... Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. And at one point when we were, you know, like 2 other companies tried to animate flat TV and fucked up and dropped the ball. But one of them, we came up with this idea and we were going to get different animators to do each clip, right?
Wow.
And we tried to get Matt to do one, and we just could never make the right connection. Like, I've never actually been able to even get him on the phone or talk to him or anything. He's so insulated.
He's, in his defense, he's responsible for the most popular TV series in history. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. And but for me, Futurama was really it for me.
Yeah.
I like The Simpsons, but not as much as I like Futurama.
And what amazed me about him, when his sons were teenagers, I guess, you know, because they lived in Venice, you would see them come into the comic shop in Santa Monica. If I had an edition or a magazine interview, I was down there. And Matt Groening would come in with his sons, and they would go to Heidi Ho Comics at the time. I don't think they go anymore, but half the store was Simpsons and Futurama, and it was hilarious to watch them come in the store, not notice any of the Simpsons or Futurama stuff, and go right to the black and white indie comics. It was hilarious. You know, it was like...
You know, that's a funny thing about animators. Brian LeMay's the same way. Like, when I first went to his house, he takes me down in his man cave, right?
Right.
And the thing... I think he's got 17,000 comic books or something like that.
Oh my God.
And he's got like the first comic book ever made. He's got a copy of it, a Nelvana, right?
Wow.
And you look at it and you go, holy shit, it's like the holy grail of comic books in here, right? You know?
And Nelvana is one of the oldest Canadian animation studios. I mean, I think they did...
They're one of the bigs, but I don't know if they started... I think they're named after the comic book.
Oh.
This comic book is so old. I mean, it's black and white, but the paper is like brown now.
Wow.
You know, it's so old because of the quality of the paper they made back then. It was not as good, right? But in his whole collection was like that, which is phenomenal.
No,
that's where they get the richness and their skill of, you know, the art.
Well, the amazing thing is, so you met the Eagles at the beginning of their career. What were they like?
They were really humble guys. I only, you know, he had so many bands, but they had 28 artists they were managing at Lookout at that time, right?
Jackson Brown and the Eagles, though. Wow.
Well, they had Jackson Brown, the Eagles, Neil Young,
wow.
Joni Mitchell,
wow.
Crosby, Stills and Nash,
wow.
JoJo Gunn,
not so much.
Laura Nero, you know, it was just a Poco, and it just went on and on and on. And Geffen was part of that. It was Elliot Roberts, John Hartman, and David Geffen, and then Harlan Goodman was another William Morris agent that worked there. And then eventually, when Geffen broke it up and sold Asylum Records, the management company split up, and Elliot Roberts got Joni and Neil and stuff like that. And my brother walked off with Crosby, Stills and Nash, America, and Poco. And the Eagles went with Irv Azoff.
Boom, bad move.
Irv was great. You know, he was the vicious little man he is. I remember there was this executive at Atlantic, and I remember seeing who was really big, and I can't remember his name. He was huge. The guy was just huge. And I saw Irv and him were sitting at a table eating lunch, and I was like, who's the Charlie McCarthy doll?
Oh, no.
He was so freaking tiny, right?
That's hilarious. Yeah, because, I mean, in that era, the 60s and 70s era of music, I mean, you'd think it's bad now. It was so cutthroat back then.
Yeah, well, there was money.
Well, yeah, that's true. I mean, now any college kid can download what he wants to hear, you know? illegally.
Yeah, I mean, holy shit. I mean, I used to be able to make $780,000 a year in the music business.
Wow.
That can't happen now, you know?
Never. I mean, the hilarious thing is the idea, go pay $14 for a record when I can hear everything on YouTube for free.
Yeah.
We have a millennial here nodding.
I know that's how I listen to. I mean, I'd rather see the old video of it too, or YouTube is awesome that way.
So, Paul, are you going to come to Los Angeles anytime soon?
Well, I'm not allowed in America any longer.
Oh, man.
I
want to hang out, man. We want to hang out with you.
War's over, man.
Come to Canada. It's awesome.
Well, there we go. That'd be a fun trip.
I would say so.
Yeah.
We have to go to David Cronenberg's house, though.
Yeah. Some days I'll work that out. I don't know. It's one of those things.
Well, no. When Phil passed, were you here? Were you still allowed here when Phil passed? Were you able to?
Oh yeah, that was 98.
Oh.
My problem happened in 2003.
Okay. And your nephew and your niece, they're doing okay?
They are. They're adults now.
Good. Yeah.
And his son's an artist and lives in San Francisco and a musician and a really, really great guy. And the daughter just got married and lives in New York, I believe.
Good. Yeah, I know your nephew. We used my brother and I had to change into our outfits in his bedroom. You know what I mean? It was the top of the line. He had the top of the line monster toys from Melrose. All the expensive Godzillas from Melrose. I was very impressed.
Yeah. He's quite an artist. Like he does very cool paintings. So he has that same artistic skill as Phil.
Wow, that's amazing. I didn't realize your family was so talented, man. That's. Hey, question, Paul. How do we follow you? Give our listeners where they can follow you on all issues. Okay.
On all issues, yes.
Health, weed,
my Facebook page. I don't do Twitter.
Neither do we.
Or any of the other ones. I'm
on Twitter,
old
but
school.
no. Yeah.
I just don't have the time. I have a publicist, Tracy Lamore,
she's wonderful. Thank you.
Oh, Tracy's awesome. Yeah. Thank you, Tracy, for.
Yeah. Tracy, thanks for your hard work.
Yeah, she's awesome. She takes really good care of me and makes me look like a pro. So.
And we thank Steve Joyner too.
Yeah,
Steve.
Wow.
Yeah, he was the one who spearheaded the whole thing.
Oh, yeah, he's good at that.
Steve.
Oh. Wow.
Well, thanks for calling in, man, and thanks for you educated us. You're funny,
and interesting,
awesome,
entertaining. You know,
and I'll be getting a hold of you. I can call you on the phone, right?
Well, shut up and let him finish.
Yeah, absolutely. One more thing. I'm speaking this weekend at the Lift Expo here in Toronto, which is a cannabis expo, on Sunday at the Hot Box booth.
Of course.
Go to the Hot Box booth, everybody.
Both of us will be speaking there, and I do that regularly. So people who follow me on Facebook can follow the shenanigans of Alan and I.
And before you bail, I have to know what the hell did your parents do that they raised 3 hippies?
I guess they had to be born in the 40s.
The greatest generation created a bunch of hippies.
Yeah, could have been the water in LA too. You never know.
Wow. Well, thank you very much, Paul. It was amazing. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you, Pat. Thank you, Jeff. It was awesome.
Awesome, brother. Take care, and we look forward to hearing from you.
All righty. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. All right, and now we're winding up for our next guest.
Christopher Carver.
Christopher Carver, who was technically our first guest because he got here in before the call.
Yeah. So
Christopher Carver of Long Beach, now promoting Psycho the Musical.
Yeah, we go from cures to cancer to My Dog and Pony Show.
Yeah.
So, tough act to follow.
Well, you know what they said, the rule in comedy is you use the word cancer, you can't get a laugh for 20 minutes.
True.
Yeah.
That's true.
So we kept him talking for another 20 minutes. Now make him laugh. baby.
So you're a director. You're directing this
I
play?
directed and I am in it.
What play are you at?
Psycho the musical.
What
it's
theater are you at?
It's at Oscar's Bar and Grill in Palm Springs.
I've been there.
It's a great place.
I shot a teen sex comedy there a few years ago at
Really?
Palm Springs.
Chastity Bites.
No, yes, I'm in Chastity Bites, but this was American High School.
Oh, man, okay.
Shot in Palm Springs, brother.
Oh.
So I crawled all over Palm Springs because there's nothing effing to do outside of go to Ruby's, which I heard they've since closed.
Yeah.
Go to Baxter's. Baxter's is the sandwich joint, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so go to Baxter's and go to the movie theater.
Yeah. Or just on the sidewalk and spend money.
And well, the sidewalk, you'll die because it's like 110.
You just go from bar to bar and then you don't feel the heat anymore.
We would slither. We would literally slither to the movie theater, to the hotel pool, and then, except for Thursday nights when it's antiquing, you have the street fair, you know?
That's true, yep.
So talk to us. So how long, when does Psycho open?
We open this Saturday. It's 2 performances only, this Saturday and Sunday. Saturdays at 9 p.m., Sundays at 2 p.m. Matinee. We did the show a year ago in Palm Springs, and they invited us back for Memorial Day weekend to give another whirl. And
who's in it?
And this one, it's Pandora Box and Kelly Mantle from RuPaul's Drag Race.
Wow.
We also have Calpurnia Adams, who's a fantastic star in the transgender community, and Michael Levine, who's the brother of Maroon 5 superstar.
Oh,
Adam
wow.
Levine. And then who else do we have?
So how many people will be on stage during this?
There's 8. There's 8 people in the show total.
8 people.
Everyone I mentioned, myself, and then there's Eric Holloway who plays Norman Bates. He's the lead singer of a band, Star Off Machine. Fantastic rock singer. Play was written by John Yeomans. I got to get his name in, or he'll kill me.
Based on the novel by Robert Bloch.
Robert Bloch. There's a character in the play based on
really?
Robert Bloch as well. Yeah.
So you play Arbogast.
I play Arbogast.
The insurance detective. Who else do you play in it?
And then I play our doctor is Dr. Bloch. He's our psychiatrist.
Good,
So
good.
I played the 2.
People always forget, because Psycho was such a mind F at the time it came out, that the great character actor Simon Oakland, who went on to play the boss in Kolchak the Night Stalker, the last 10 minutes of the movie Psycho is him basically explaining what Norman Bates is. And it's supposed to be a big dramatic moment. But if you've ever seen Caddyshack, it's ruined because the guard who's taking Norman away is a young Ted Knight who went on the Mary Tyler Moore.
Really?
Yeah, and of course, Judge Smalls in
What
Caddyshack.
a trip. I didn't know that.
Well, we're waiting. And if you see it on the big screen, Philistines will start shouting his wild lines from Caddyshack. You know, I put him on death row, Billy. I felt I owed it to him. You know what I mean? So it's an unbroken shot of Simon Oakland with an unbroken shot of Ted Knight. And Ted Knight's a famous comedic actor, and here he is in a dramatic role with no dialogue, you know. And
I'll have to go back and watch that.
They all got to start somewhere. Huh?
Yeah. And but obviously it was such a mind F when it came out. They needed Simon Oakland to explain what you just saw.
Otherwise, our version, that's a song. Our speech is one long song.
What sort of songs in the movie? Is there a shower song? I hope there is.
Yeah, there's a whole scene where and then it turns into a song that I don't want to give anything away there, but it's a big part of the play right there.
Singing and blood at the same time.
Exactly.
That's great, man.
And
what a
drag
good combo.
queens and go-go dancers. You know, what do you need in a Saturday night?
No, it sounds great. You know. Wow, tell us more.
So it's been a long. We started in West Hollywood about 1.5 years ago with the show. Well, the show's actually much older. It's from the 90s, and then I had the idea of remounting it with drag queens. So we started that.
Oh my God!
Yeah, it took a little detour there.
There's not that many girls in the cycle. There's what?
There's 2. There's the sister and Marion Crane. Yeah, Marion. By the way, is she still with us? I know Janet Leigh is dead, but her sister is alive,
I think
right?
she is. Yeah, I looked her up.
Vera Miles. It says nothing about her dying, and Vera Miles, her and her daughter Kelly were in the Buck Rogers TV. I did a book on Buck Rogers a couple of years back.
Oh yeah.
And I couldn't get Vera or Kelly to talk about it. Kelly, I think, is a real estate agent in Big Bear now. But Psycho just chugs along, man.
Yeah.
Were you a fan of the franchise? Had you seen all?
I saw when I was a kid. I had seen all the 4 original movies. And then,
I love Psycho 3, which was the one Perkins directed.
the really bad one.
Hey, no, that was. You know the great thing about Psycho 3 is the one Perkins directed. You know where.
Yeah.
They cut the most interesting part of the screenplay. The screenplay was written by the guy who wrote Cronenberg's The Fly. You know, and he wrote Dragonheart. And when you see the movie, Jeff Fahey, you know, was this wonderful.
Jeff Fahey from Lawnmower Man.
Very good, Lawnmower Man. He was just kind of a block of wood, you know. He was supposed to be your smoldering '80s hunk type, but he was mostly like just a side of ham, you know what I mean? And he's in Planet Terror and stuff, but in the movie, he's following Norman Bates around. And they hint at what he's doing, and they cut the ending. They change the ending. The ending of the script, the original script, is he's a modern serial killer who's the world's biggest Norman Bates fan, which is great. That's really cool and dark. And they changed it around and just made him a generic psycho, which is, in my opinion, less interesting.
Yeah, not as much motivation there.
It gave him and Norman an arc. In a way, Norman is a father to this guy, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And he doesn't want that responsibility, you know what I mean? And it was a big bomb and all that, but Perkins directed it. I thought it was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
You know, I like Psycho.
Goriest of the 4.
Yeah, it's certainly the goriest of the 4. And Kat Shea Rubin, kind of a great director. She directed Poison Ivy, a movie I named. You know, and she's in it as an actress. You know,
really?
She's a spring breaker. She's the body in the ice chest where the guy's eating all the ice.
Oh, okay.
The sheriff is eating the ice and he just misses the bloody ice. It's a really cool. Psycho 3 is really criminally underrated. I like Psycho 4, directed by Mick Garris, written by the guy who wrote the original Joe Stefano.
They kind of go in a different direction plot-wise.
It's a little too dark.
So, yeah.
It's not fun. Psycho 3 is fun. Psycho 2 is goofy.
It's goofy. We have a lot of Psycho 2 in our show too.
Yeah, so I don't mind goofy. No, you don't keep the whole thing about Norma Bates being the sister of the real mother.
Emma Spool. Yeah, there's
I don't accept that.
There's a whole bit with that.
It's not up to you to change the ending of Hitchcock, my friend.
Exactly. We kind of acknowledge that in our show.
Good man. But you throw in a Psycho 2 nod.
Yeah, for the true fans, we're there for you.
Is there a Psycho 3 reference?
I don't think so. I have to look back at the script. I don't think so.
As a personal friend of Mick Garris, is there a Psycho 4 the beginning nod?
There's a little nod.
Okay, good man. Good man. Yeah. I would be disappointed. Wow.
And then we've got all the stuff from Bates Motel from that series, the energy from that we've had a lot of people.
Oh my God.
Pay attention to our show from that.
I interviewed the actress. She's also in Up in the Air.
Vera Farmiga?
I interviewed Vera Farmiga for The Orphan, and I had the biggest crush on her. She's adorable.
She's great.
She's adorable. I hate that she's now a famous actress because I liked when she'd show up in smaller stuff, and it's like, you know, I mean, when The Orphan was just this quiet before Bates Motel, now
she's huge.
Now she's huge, and it bums me out because I liked when she'd show up and you don't expect her.
You're like, it's that gal.
Yeah,
like Allison Janney back in the day.
Everything. Now you loved Allison Janney. Now, Allison Janney is an Oscar. Big deal. I was into Allison Janney before it was cool. And when they, when they're full on huge, then
Yeah, then they're unattainable.
Yeah. No, but you know what I mean? It's like an indie band.
Yeah.
I was into Vera Farmiga and the Vera Farmiga experience when she was in low budget stuff. Now that's Vera Farmiga. It's like,
anybody could have
I was listening to her stuff before it was cool. It's like Roller, what's her name before she won the Oscar from Jurassic Park, The Lost World? Redhead.
Julianne Moore.
I loved Julianne Moore when she was in no budget movies. And then now that she's Julianne Moore, it's no longer cool.
That's a household name.
Yeah, she's no longer high. She's no longer that indie band you liked in low budget horror,
Well, it's like Philip Seymour Hoffman was kind of that way back in Boogie Nights. It was like, that guy.
Even more. I just saw him in. He was on. I was just channel surfing, and he's the punk in Twister.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he's the fat, greasy punk in Twister.
Oh, wow.
He's in.
I remember that, but I didn't know that was him.
He's in a cool little, '90s zombie comedy that was released by Disney. Big Bomb, I think. The guy who did Christmas Story, I believe, was connected to it. Bob Clark, called My Boyfriend's Back.
Oh, yeah. I remember that movie.
Oh, yeah.
I remember that
And
movie.
there's a bully. There's a short, big mouth bully. That's Philip Seymour Hoffman in a Jughead Jones hat from the old Archie comics.
Wow.
And to me, again, he'd show up in the low budget stuff. It's like Bill Paxton. You know,
yeah.
I was a fan of the Bill Paxton experience. And then when everyone knew who Bill Paxton was,
cheapens it.
yeah, it's like Bruce Campbell, man.
Yeah.
It's like I liked when he was lo-fi.
Yeah.
When everyone's in on the joke, I'm happy for them financially, but I'm sad for,
For the work.
yeah. Because then all of a sudden everything's important. And this is a Julia, what's her name? The redhead from Jurassic World?
Julianne Moore.
Julianne Moore, Lost World. Yeah.
Because she had to play Clarice, remember? Because Jodie Foster wouldn't do it. So
That's right. In
That's
the
one of the
sequel.
great quotes, though. I read Dino De Laurentiis' autobiography, and Jodie Foster wouldn't do Hannibal. She thought it was too gory, too violent, and Ridley Scott wanted to direct it, and Anthony Hopkins wanted to reprise the role. Everyone was going to have a huge payday. And the studio goes to Dino De Laurentiis, and they go, Dino, we can't make the movie. Jodie Foster won't do it. And he looked at them and he goes, when the Pope dies, you get a new Pope.
That's a good
The
answer.
show must go on.
Great analogy.
Exactly.
It's the Hannibal show. Hopkins is playing game. As long as you have Dracula in there, he's the money. And so they don't care. He didn't care how many Oscars Jodie Foster had. This train ain't stopping for nobody. Like the old phrase, your arms are too short to box with God. You're going to get this train over the hill to Toyland if it kills you, So doing it, you cast it as well as directed it, right?
I produced it.
Congrats.
Kind of did everything. Thank you. Yeah.
So did you did a huge search when you finally found the guy to play?
No, it was pitching. It was a lot. Well, and it's changed. The cast has changed every time we've done it. So
Did you say I need a young Martin Balsam, and then you were shaving?
I mean, did you put out a cast and do you audition everybody?
We did in the
Craigslist?
beginning. We didn't go that route. But it was like looking for an Anthony Perkins type, and
Wow.
you should have seen what I got submitted. But
Oh, seriously?
yeah, there
Wow.
was a kind of a rogues gallery there. To weed through and pick the good ones. And
But these horror musicals are great. Stuart Gordon staged Reanimator the musical, which was freaking brilliant.
yeah.
Did you see that?
Reanimator, the
Oh
music?
yeah, I took
yes.
Steven. I took my brother Steven. They would give you trash bag tuxedos because there was so much blood coming off the stage.
Wow, that's great.
We sat in the splatter zone, and I was washing blood out of my jeans for like 2 weeks afterwards.
That's
there's
awesome.
another one, Cannibal the musical. That's
I love
I
Cannibal.
love that show. And that one you get
I was in.
too.
I made a Bigfoot movie in the town they shot that at. They shot
really?
that. Yeah, they shot that in Lake City, Colorado, where the real Alfred Packer went crazy.
Yeah.
And remember the ending when his girlfriend is hugging Trey Parker on the courthouse steps? That's in Lake City. I used to, because Bigfoot didn't work days on the Bigfoot movie I was making. Everyone else is shooting I heard a noise, or they'll find my muddy prints. So while the whole crew is shooting that, I'm effing around the town reading about Alfred Packer, going to the museum, and I went to the courthouse where he was going to be killed because he was a cannibal. And outside of Sawney Bean and the Donner Party, it just was so repulsive then as now. I mean, this is before everyone saw the camp value of Santa Clarita Diet and all that stuff. But the lawyer got Alfred Packer off because the argument was, and this is great, this is in the museum and the courthouse, you couldn't put Alfred Packer to death for violating Colorado law because Colorado was not a state yet.
Oh, wow.
They retroactively gave him the death penalty when Colorado became a state. His lawyer successfully argued you couldn't put him to death. So after waiting years and years on death row, I think they either released him or he died right before they released him. But in the local Lake City, Colorado Museum, you have a dollhouse he made for the governor's daughter.
Oh, wow.
You know, and I mean, he became, and of course, while repugnant at the time he did it, everything was Packer's Pool Hall, Packer's Pizza.
Really?
They had Alfred Packer days. I mean, the cannibal was the only thing he was known for. The most famous guy in the town. He looked a little bit like Charles Manson. I know because we went drinking. Me and the crew went drinking with him a bunch of nights. He was Alfred Packer on the History Channel.
Oh, really?
Wow.
And so they would take it, they would bring him to the local school to tell the story of Alfred Packer first person, the same way you'd have the old codger who looked like Lincoln do it. And I mean, so Packer was huge. And so Cannibal the Musical, which is great.
Yeah, it's a great show.
He wrote it as a college student. Can you believe that?
Yeah.
I was going to do a retrospective for Fangoria. And his girlfriend, who played his girlfriend in the play, she was just talking about how they did it for no money.
That's so crazy.
But and the music is so great. Let's Build a Snowman is one of the great songs.
Yeah.
Now, did you write Psycho the Musical?
I didn't. No. John Yeomans wrote it back. Like I said,
did you work with him on it or workshop?
I did. I was in one of the original productions back in the 90s.
Wow.
96. Yeah, totally different role back then.
Who'd you play in that?
I played the sheriff / dancer, so it's a younger role.
Sheriff Brackett, I think, right?
Yeah. Yeah, or Sheriff Chambers.
Sheriff Chambers, very good, very good. But Brackett or somebody in Psycho 2, they got the day player who played the deputy to be boosted up to sheriff. Remember?
Oh, did they?
You're back in town, Norman.
No, you're trivia.
Yeah, sorry, go ahead, sir.
No, so yeah, we did back then, and then when I decided to redo it, I wasn't going to be in it. I was like, I'm just going to direct it. I'm just going to sit back.
You suddenly said, "There's too much talent in this director for me to watch."
Or after our fourth production, I'm like, all right, it's my turn to try my hand at it again.
Good man.
Yeah, it's been fun. It's been fun.
Now, how do you do Arbogast's death is shot from above, and it's on the landing. Do you still fall down the stairs?
It's changed. It depends on the venue. For this one, it's kind of tied with the shower a little bit more. We had to kind of rewrite it. But when we have a full projection screen and all that, then we play with.
Oh, you do the
Not for
famous
this venue, but
wow.
we have, other venues.
The famous cheese ball Martin Balsam falling down the stairs, which is rear projection.
Yeah.
You know, it drives one of my friends crazy. He's a big movie buff, Brian Hunt. It drives him nuts because he says Hitchcock will shoot everything indoors. So when he's actually doing an outdoor shot and the birds or something, it just doesn't look real, you know?
It has that phony look to it.
Yeah, the rear screen projection.
Right.
With all the birds, they're just...
Yeah, he'll use a real shot of Cary Grant or somebody outdoors, and it just looks fake.
No, what about the set design? I mean, the props and the set.
The house is so iconic.
Changing scenes. I mean, everything was built. I mean, that had to be, that had to cost some money to do that.
It's an intense, we have our go-go boy dancers. They kind of come in and facilitate all the scene changes. So they kind of turn it into the hotel room, turn it into Mother's house, all the different things that, it's through theater magic. We make that work.
Wow, interesting. But how do you do do you have a toy house of it?
It's a picture, basically that.
Yeah, because you've got to do
the illusion of a walkway going up to the house, that classic stairwell.
You got to have Marion and John Gavin. You got to have Lila and John Gavin looking over at the house.
Oh,
you know?
Yeah, we've got that scene in there.
Yeah, because I will be disappointed if you don't have that.
Oh,
you know. Wow.
You're always looking from the motel, or from the house to the motel, and the motel to the house.
Exactly. Yeah. And you got all that listening to Mother talking. And,
yes. Wow.
Our mother is very inspired by Betty Davis in this movie, so it's kind of
play to your crowd, I say.
Exactly.
Do you remember there was a band in the 80s called Bates Motel? Remember that? Did you ever know
I
that?
don't.
I used to play the whiskey all the time.
I was a Psycho nerd, but all I remember of cool band names in the 80s was Jodie Foster's Army.
Yeah.
You know? JFA, man.
I'll have to Google that Bates Motel group. And I can't remember what they sounded like, but they were like an LA kind of punk scene.
Punk, I was
Do you play the businessman who's getting robbed as well?
No, that scene. Yeah, we don't have that one in this.
You don't do the classic crosswalk?
Yeah, we don't have that in there.
Oh, boo! Pulp Fiction was on the other. Pulp Fiction was on the other night, and I just love how they pay off the psycho crosswalk where he recognizes her.
Oh wow! Yeah.
Well, directing the play, do you keep a bit of the suspense, or is it all for
No, because we assume the audience comes in already knowing, so we go right for the cheap laughs on it. Like, we play it up. It's like, what's good. So and you want a good drunk audience for this show.
Right.
That they're cheering along. Like, when we have them really drunk, they're ready for Marion to die, and they're into it. So that's fun.
Wow. That's amazing. You know what I mean? I mean, when you look at it, and the book is so ugly. The book is moist and ugly, and Norman Bates is in his, middle aged and creepy, and you look at how clean Hitchcock made the movie version. He improved everything from the book.
Yeah, it's a dark book.
Ugly, dank book. And I mean, it's great. It sets everything up.
Yeah.
And Bloch, when they did Psycho 2 with the movie, which is kind of jaunty, Bloch wrote a really dark, really ugly, another moist, dank, creepy, and he had a really great shock in Psycho 2, the novel. I mean, unfortunately, Norman is raping nuns and stuff. It's really unpleasant, But the shock of Psycho 2, the novel, spoiler alert, but you had some time to read it. There's a car explosion, or a van explosion after he's doing terrible things to a nun, which just ugly. You realize Norman was killed and someone else is doing it. Norman was killed on like page 10 of the book.
And it's like a copycat killer?
And it's a copycat killer. And you get to the end of the book and wait, what? Norman Bates is dead? What did I read the book for?
I invested a lot of time in nothing.
Man, this stinks. Everyone else thought so too.
That's why you don't hear about that book, I guess.
Psycho 2 is long out of print. The book, not the movie. But what are you looking for? You do Betty Davis.
There's a little Crawford. There's a little Joan Crawford thrown in there.
Good.
Got a few nods to her.
Yeah, so anybody who watched Feud will immediately feel at home.
Exactly. We try to pay homage to all the old classic Hollywood queens at some point.
And you do, speaking of which, you do the classic Anthony Perkins.
Oh, yeah. Our actor, there's a lot of stuttering.
You do the reflection in the window, the birds, the eating crackers, all that stuff.
The masturbation.
Wow.
Yeah. A little played up again.
The peephole is still there.
Oh, yeah.
Good man.
Absolutely.
Wow.
Absolutely. That has to be.
Of course, the wig and the skull and the skeleton and the chair. Good. The naked bulb.
Yeah, well, that's getting... No, the bulb's not there. We don't have that.
What?
Again, it depends
what
on
the hell?
Well, we have a venue where we can drop it.
Okay.
We do, but this venue we don't.
You got to have a naked bulb somewhere.
Does it matter, different when you're different theater venues? The layout of the stage is going to be a lot different places you go, and then you got to figure out how your set is going to work.
And we usually have like a day or two to kind of figure that out really quick. So that's been the challenge every place we go.
You book your venue, and then you got to say, okay, how are we going to fit? Yeah, this ceiling's higher than the last one, and this,
And let's just say some places we can do projections. Sometimes it's all just props and set pieces. So
wow,
that's why every time you see the show, it's different.
Really,
it's a different show every venue we've been in.
Wow. That's interesting. What'd you think of Gus Van Sant's remake of Psycho? With
unnecessary.
Yeah.
Unnecessary.
Why do it? It was fine, but unnecessary in the end.
We talked. We had a guest on last week. Remember, who worked with Gus Van Sant? And we asked him, how did this happen? I'm blanking on the guest's name, but he said Van Sant was joking. And Universal goes, what do you want? What can we offer you next? What would you love to do? And he joked and he said, I want to do an exact shot-for-shot remake of Psycho. And I remember our guest told us this last week, and he was joking, but Universal backed the Brinks truck up because he was coming off of Good Will Hunting, and he said they gave him so much money he had to do it.
Wow.
You know, I don't remember the guest name, but it was a great story. By the way, you want a drink of water? You want water?
Oh, I'm good.
But don't be a hero.
I'm good. I'm good.
Because, I mean, what's your favorite? What was the hardest to block and direct for this?
The shower scene's the hardest part. Just getting the timing of that right, getting so that you're not seeing, the actor disappear or something like that. And getting the timing of the blood because we want Norman.
Did you do the shower curtain with the shadow, right?
Yeah. Yeah, so there's the silhouette, and then you see her. There's the whole strip tease and everything. It's a big part of the show. It's
Wow.
a good 5-6 minutes.
That's good, though. That's
the audience loves that part.
Wow.
And sometimes it's longer if the audience is cheering and going.
Really?
The strip gets a little
Yeah,
bit
so you can
longer.
improv. You could just
There's
do
a lot of
yeah.
improv. Yeah, a lot of improv in the show.
What's the best improv so far?
I don't know. I'd be giving because now a lot of these improvs have turned into a script.
Have they really?
Yeah,
No,
some were like, we like that. We're going to keep that.
now they're on book.
A lot of them.
Wow.
Yeah. Writers had me I have to send every time we do it. He's like, all right, send me all the new script updates.
Oh, really? And he'll work them in if they're good?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And all of them have made their way in.
I gotta give him credit. He's open to interpretation.
Yeah.
Wow.
30 years, so add a few more.
What's
Cheap
been
jokes.
What's been your what was the biggest surprise out of directing Psycho the musical for you as a director?
It was honestly I was worried because it was written in the 90s if it would translate still today and that it's still topical and that people are still responding.
Rocky Horror creaks a bit, yeah.
It's a lot like Rocky Horror. The music's very similar to that, and especially it was written to have something for adults to go to at Halloween that wasn't Rocky Horror because it's kind of the only show that plays at October.
Yeah,
So
Rocky Horror and Little Shop.
Yeah,
that's
about it. And so it was nice to kind of play with something different and something a little more adult. Thankfully, people have responded. We've been lucky, so
Interesting.
hopefully it keeps going.
Knock wood, yeah. How long is your run for?
This is just one weekend. This is just Memorial Day weekend, and then we go to Vegas in the fall. And then
you are going to Vegas?
We are going to Vegas.
Wow, congratulations.
Thank you. And then we go, then we've got a whole month in October in West Hollywood.
Oh, smart. You're doing it in October. Okay, good.
Yeah, we've got to capitalize on that.
No, I was going to say, that's printing money, actually.
Yeah, exactly.
A camp horror musical based on a classic? That's...
In West Hollywood with drag queens.
Where are you going to hold it when we hold? Where
we're looking. I don't know if I'm supposed to say yet, but it's looking at the Greenway Court Theater.
Okay, cool.
We haven't finalized yet. But
no, okay. Well, I'll say no more. But we'll fix that in post. Sorry, baby, it's out there.
Yeah.
Well, interesting. So, is this the first time you directed a play?
No, this is. I started the company about 5 years ago.
Give us the name of the company.
It's Mask Entertainment. It's a theater production company centered around drag. There's actually two sides to the company. There's a drag queen side, and then there's actually a children's theater. Completely separate.
Awkward.
Yeah, they don't really merge ever.
RuPaul's Puppet Show.
RuPaul's Winnie the Pooh and the Blustering Day.
Goes in a very different direction. But yeah, our first show we did a twisted version of Hair. In West Hollywood.
Really?
We played with it. Was set in the future. It was like a post-apocalyptic version. Pre-election. And so our conceit was, what if Donald Trump happens to get elected? What horrible world will this look like? And then it happened. So then our show was a little defunct.
In the future, shiny, waxy, long, beautiful hair.
So that was our first. That was the thing that kind of put us on the map, and we changed the genders on a lot of the characters on that, and then this was our follow up.
Wow, Psycho the Musical is your follow-up. Well, and you haven't directed anything else? Or?
No, because this one's kept going. So I've directed again with the children and other things. But
let's talk about that. Normal children's theater. What have you directed? I'm really fascinated.
I did a whole.
The dichotomy is amazing.
I know it's a weird. You have to shift your head a lot or wash your mouth a lot. It's very different language.
No thrusting crotches and then
exactly. Strippers.
Yeah.
But we did my first year in that we did a whole 19 because I grew up in the 80s, so I did an 80s theme.
A child of the 80s.
Yeah,
congrats.
Yeah, I did Xanadu, Fame, Footloose.
Oh, you did Xanadu.
That was my very first big thing that I directed at the Strawberry Bowl.
Now was this the Xanadu musical that they did? Okay, good. Okay, wow.
Was this based off the Olivia Newton-John's album?
Yeah, off the movie.
It's a brilliant adaptation.
It's so funny. It's so
the muses
and
everything else, you know.
We're looking to do it. I think we're going to try to do it in Palm Springs Labor Day weekend with drag queens.
But does Xana do
go
as
from
well?
Children to drag queens.
No, but children's theater, were you doing stuff like, what were you doing children's theater wise?
That's what I was doing. I like doing things.
Oh, Xanadu.
Yeah, the things the kids haven't heard of. That's more my taste. So I was exposing them to
That's really
my era.
That's really smart. So Footloose, so you went full on 80s.
Oh yeah.
Wow.
When I look at all the parents of these kids are my age. They
Yeah,
grew up
the
in
Generation
80s.
Y,
They're the
yeah.
ones paying for them to be in the show.
Yeah,
So I'm trying
sure.
to appeal to them.
No, they would rather sit through Footloose than some other horror,
Exactly. Been
Our
80
Town.
for
Yeah.
the 18th time.
Yeah, exactly. Or Our Town or some other crap. Apologies to Thornton Wilder. But I'm doing this. What about Psycho appeals to you?
For me, it was this particular script. The campiness of this story was so, and it was just fun 20 years ago when I did it. And it bothered me that this show really never got the life and never really got.
I never heard of it.
Yeah,
I never heard
nobody
of it.
did.
I'm really
Or to
impressed that
continue.
you're reviving it because I would love to catch it sometime.
Yeah, it's great. Hopefully, it's gonna keep. We're plan is to take it all the way to New York eventually.
Knockwood. Wow. Yeah, that's what happened to that's what happened to Little Shop.
Yeah.
I mean, Little Shop was off Broadway in New York, but I meant Reanimator the musical got so big here that it actually made it to New York.
Yeah, Heather's the musical was another one that started here in LA. And
Exactly, an LA creation. You know. Wow. Have you seen it?
Heather's.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it good?
It's good. It's good. We've talked about doing it with my children's theater. All my teenagers want to do it.
Daniel Waters, I know Dan Waters a little bit, who wrote the original, who wrote the
yeah.
movie, and wrote Batman Returns, Hudson Hawk, a bunch of cool stuff. And he was happy with it.
That was what, 87 when that came out?
88.
88.
Yeah.
Yeah, Heather's is it's the reason you still know who Winona Ryder is.
Yeah.
She was
And
more
Shannon Doherty.
and Shannon Doherty. She was Winona Ryder was more than Spock's mother, people. That just kills me. Poor Winona Ryder.
I know. Poor
Johnny Depp gets to play her boyfriend, and then 10 years later, she's Spock's mother, and he's dating his on-screen daughter from he kind of raises Christina Ricci, and then they're in Sleepy Hollow together with her playing the
that's true.
girlfriend.
Wow, you look at
That's like movie incest.
Yeah, it is.
Winona Ryder can't get arrested unless she's shoplifting, and these.
Oh, she's got Stranger Things now. She's getting her
Yeah,
comeback.
but thank God that she got her 80s group. But
Yeah.
notice to get to the bottom of it, she's now in a Keanu Reeves comedy.
Oh, is she?
Yeah, Destination Wedding. But to get back to where she was, she had to go back to the 80s. That's
Yeah,
really
it's
fascinating to me. I mean, once she went back to Stranger Things, she suddenly reminded everyone why they loved
like,
Winona
oh, that's
Ryder.
right.
Yeah, it's like you forget all the crappy non-Burton movies that she made that made you tired of her in the first place. And it's like, wait, you made Winona Ryder cool again. That's really good, you know?
And to a whole new generation.
To a whole new generation who doesn't know she was anything more than Spock's mother. That breaks my heart. That woman's an icon.
I always think of her as, the
Lydia Dietz.
the Beetlejuice girl.
Yeah, Lydia Dietz.
Yeah.
But she was so iconic for Heathers and the Burton stuff that you didn't. You know what I mean? I'd heard horrible stories like she wanted to be in Planet of the Apes, and he told her he didn't have a part for her.
Oh,
and
really? Oh,
that's
wow.
gut wrenching. That's Winona Ryder, man. You should have
She
made
was
her
like
an
the
ape.
quintessential Generation X girl.
Exactly.
Like she was that
And
voice.
she made too many of those mopey comedy.
Yeah.
The Ben Stiller thing. What was it called? Remember? It was supposed to be the Generation X romance. And,
Oh, yeah.
and it was just,
Yeah.
yeah.
Not Reality Bites.
Reality
Reality
Bites.
Bites,
Thank
yeah,
you.
it was
Yeah,
Reality
exactly right.
Bites,
And it was after that. It's like, oh, I thought Winona Ryder was cool.
She's just whiny.
yeah. And it's like, done. So that's why I was glad Abrams, even though she was Spock's mother, I was glad Abrams actually gave her
Her
something.
little life again.
And Stranger Things made her 80s cool again, which
Yeah.
I'm really happy to see,
Yeah.
I mean, I love that Winona Ryder is back. We live in a world where Winona Ryder can climb back from the abyss. And that makes me happy, boys.
She has redeemed herself to society.
Yes. She has paid her price in movie star jail, and now she's back.
on the pedestal.
Movie star, yeah.
And it's just, you know what I mean? I mean, it's like Perkins. Perkins became like the generic psycho, and then he did good work, but
I mean, had a couple of them. I'm trying to remember. I know there were a couple things.
Winter Kills, and then he played the sweaty street preacher in Crimes of Passion.
Yeah,
where he's going to ram the giant metal dildo up Jessica Rabbit's hoo-hoo, you know? You know, so, but he embraced the psycho-ness.
Yeah, in the end, because he had no choice.
Yeah, he had no choice. He couldn't get arrested, yeah. And I mean, when you look at him, he eventually worked his way back, and you're kind of happy to see. But he had to, like Winona Ryder, he had to go back to that which he was best known for to get to where he needed to go.
Yeah.
You know?
You got to give the audiences what they want.
And I feel, and when you watch Psycho 4, the beginning, I feel bad because he's gaunt and waxy and clearly sick, and he obviously didn't want to do it, and you know what I mean? I mean, because he looks so sick in the movie.
You can tell.
And it's a great, Mick Garris does a great job directing. Joseph Stefano wrote it, but he looks so sick, it's almost distracting.
Yeah,
you know,
it's uncomfortable.
Yeah, and you're watching the movie and you just feel bad, you know, and he's ruminating about his life, and he's clearly on the way out, and it just makes you sad. And his family was sort of cursed. His wife died in 9/11. She was in the
oh really?
Yeah, Barry Perkins. She was a famous photographer. She was on the plane, I believe, that hit the Pentagon.
Oh wow!
You know, that's horrible. You know what I mean? Terrible. I mean, so you know what I mean? I mean, I think they have 2 kids, but you know what I mean? I mean, he was so typecast after Psycho.
Yeah, that was the only thing he ever really did.
Yeah, I mean,
was of note.
Lots of, and you'll see him do really interesting work in low budget movies like Winter Kills and stuff like that.
And some of his TV work.
He's in a great Stuart Gordon TV movie. He plays Mia Sara's father, from Ferris Bueller's Day Off. Oh. Directed by Stuart Gordon, called Daughters of Darkness, where he plays like the leader of a Romanian vampire tribe with driller tongues.
Oh,
and, yeah. And it's a director reanimator. And you know he wants to do far more with those tongues than he's being allowed to do. And he's being held back by network TV constraints. And I talked to Stuart about this. You can tell he's straining and chafing at the bit to do what it's a Stuart Gordon movie, but the brakes are on, you know.
What's the name of it?
Daughter of Darkness with Mia Sara. Look it up. It might be on Tubi. Everything I love is on Tubi. Do you have Tubi and Amazon? What are you into now? What are you watching?
What am I watching? Well, I'm finishing up all the finales of all the TV shows that are airing on TV right now.
What are your shows? What are you watching? If you watch Arrow, you can tell us.
But I am watching Roseanne because that's my childhood.
Yeah, so there you go. There you go.
Brilliant.
Are you watching Arrow?
I don't watch Arrow. I watch Gotham.
Oh, screw you. Batman without Batman?
I love me some Batman.
Commissioner Gordon's got poison ivy living in his house. Screw you.
Catwoman shot. And then I do the Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Although I was a little disappointed.
And young Bruce, and it's before he even goes to Japan to become.
He's listening to speed metal. Screw both of you for watching that show. But okay, so you're watching Gotham. What else? What are your guilty favorites?
Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Hey, how is Agents of what they do this season?
They went into space this year.
Oh, they did?
Yeah,
So
they went into the future and then they went into space.
Are they doing the blue guys? Or are they doing the Kree or the Skrull?
The Kree.
Wow, they're doing the Kree.
They did the first half. Now it's.
Do they look like the Kree or not? But they're blue then.
They lost their budget got slashed in half. And you can kind of tell
this season,
So suddenly there's a lot more emphasis on script than production value. But
that breaks my heart because now that they're at 5 seasons, I believe it's in its 5th or 6th season.
Yeah.
Now the budgets are like halved because wow.
The actors are getting more money.
Yeah, they're getting fatter because the job security's there. Nobody's really taking care of themselves.
My favorite series now, I just binged watch it, the whole season of The Tick.
Oh, how was that?
It is awesome. It is great. I just episode of the whole thing, man. I want more, but you gotta wait for it. You know. Wow. How about what other shows?
I'm trying to think.
What are you binging? Tell us.
It's been a while since I've been working too much to binge. The The last thing I think I binged Lost in Space on Netflix.
The 60s or the new one?
The new
Well,
one,
how
yeah.
is it?
I liked it. I thought it was good. I thought it was.
The
I liked
robots
Parker
and
Posey as Mr.
Parker
Smith.
Posey as
It
Dr.
worked.
Smith.
Yeah, it worked.
Is she doing the full-on biting her fingernails, caricature Smith?
It's different. It's different.
So
but
she's
it's
not
the
nellying
hardest
and
thing.
hiding behind a kid and a robot?
No.
Okay.
It's more evil and twisted. I think.
Really?
Yeah, she's actually scarier.
Wow. But there's no green women in face paint and all
Not
that?
yet. We'll see. They kind of set up the second season. So.
Wow. Neil Marshall, I believe, directed the pilot. The guy who did, he did a great movie. If you guys have Amazon, and I believe it's on Tubi. No, it's on Netflix. He did a great movie called Centurion.
Oh, okay.
It's a low budget 300 type thing, but it's really good. He's basically telling the Greek legend of Anabasis, which Stallone did with the second Rambo. James Cameron wrote it. Anabasis is where the warriors came from. The leader is dead or captured or dead, and the guys have to fight their way back home. And he's doing it super low budget, but it's nail biting. It's really good.
Really?
Oh yeah, give it a look. If you like Lost in Space, give this guy a look. Neil Marshall. He did the what's the one where the women go spelunking? The women go into a cave with a bunch of bat people. No, none of you
I
guys.
have no idea.
Oh God, what's it called? The D starts with the D. Come to me later. Yeah, Neil Marshall. What is it? They go spelunking and they run into bat people. It's great. It sounds stupid, but it's great. It's really good. But check out Centurion, and if I ever remember the title with the bat. Oh, hold on. Somebody might have just sent it to me. Let's see. Throw me a lifeline. And Steve Joyner points out that Anthony Perkins was really good in Mahogany.
Mahogany.
No way, man. I don't want to see Anthony Perkins in Mahogany. He's going to be sweaty creeps, Steve Joyner. I'm sorry. Anthony Perkins, I hate doing this to the guy because he was famous for sweaty creeps. But you make him a homeless guy like in Crimes of Passion. Anthony Perkins gave such great unbalanced psycho. You didn't want to see him as anything else.
It's true.
Even when he's playing Jimmy Pearsall in Fear Strikes Out, he does the sweaty creep really well, you know?
And there was that, what was that music, that Evening Primrose that he did?
Oh, that was I read that book in junior high school, man.
Which book?
Evening Primrose.
Oh, seriously?
It was
Was
a
it
musical with the gal who was the oldest daughter in Sound of Music. It was a music.
Oh, Heather Menzies.
Is that her name?
Yeah, I did an interview with her. She was married to Robert Urich. She starred in the original Piranha. She's in the first TV movie of Captain America.
Oh.
Besides Sound of Music, she did a ton of genre stuff.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and she was probably just slumming. When I interviewed her, and you're asking about Logan's Run and stuff, the series, she was just paying the bills, but so when she was doing the genre stuff, it was her slumming, but we all dug as kids, we all dug the genre stuff,
That's more fun anyway.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I don't think a straight up musical would succeed like a horror musical,
Exactly. You need a little niche marketing there.
Yeah, I think you hit all the high buttons. There's horror, there's genre. Once you're genre, you seem pretty much protected when you do a musical, unless it was like Stephen King's Carrie musical, which closed in the opening night, I believe.
Yeah, but then it keeps coming back. Like it has its own little cult life now, which is it should have. I think.
I heard they did it on Riverdale, which is hilarious.
Oh,
because
really?
The writer on Riverdale, Roberto Aguirre Sarcasa, wrote the play.
Oh, really? Oh, I didn't know that.
So I think it was hilarious that he's resuscitating another part of his career.
His own work.
Yeah, we won't give up on this. We won't.
Or it's like, well, I don't have to pay royalties for this.
Right. I grant myself permission. And I mean, so you have a big picture of the house when they're staring up at the house? And all that?
So that's on the wall.
Do you have the neon sign?
Yeah.
The mountain animals?
Oh, yeah. We've got the Bates Motel.
The mountain animals?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh,
The
yeah.
birds?
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
We have a lot of it. It keeps building every production we do. We add more birds to
How
it.
do you do the trunk? How do you do pushing the car into the quicklime?
We don't do that. That's cut. Yeah.
Okay.
There's no, it's just alluded to.
He just kind of, oh,
Yeah. We just
that was a lot of work.
I think it's part of one song. He just kind of throws it into the song. That's it. A few things we have to gloss over.
And have you heard from Universal or anyone?
No, because we are a parody, so they've kind of always left us.
Ah,
alone,
you're
which is
protected.
nice. Yes.
Thank
we're-
God for
yeah.
the famous Air Pirates Walt Disney suit. Which,
Yeah,
if
exactly.
you're a parody, you're protected.
Yeah, we're protected.
Wow.
Oh, that's a good thing.
Yeah, because you can't. I mean, if he was doing a rip-off, then would come out to you hammer and tongs, but
Yeah.
it's a spoof. So
Or if we did Little Mermaid on stage,
Disney
yeah,
was-
Disney will come after you.
Disney does not care about parody. That's where the Air Pirates lawsuit came in. They were going to smash and bankrupt the publisher just to teach a lesson.
Yeah.
You know, and Disney doesn't care. I mean, the big thing. I did a book on the Incredible Hulk, and thank God, it came out just as Disney acquired Marvel. And so I was protected by getting out just before the smashing fist of Disney. You know, I heard they just crushed some plier company for calling their monkey wrench the Hulk pliers or something. Disney
Really?
just crushed them. I mean, their overwhelming assault is they hit you with like 20 different lawsuits. They want all this stuff. If you sue them, they countersue you. They bury you in an avalanche of
they're a
paperwork.
superpower. You can't beat them.
That's true.
They're almost a separate country,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, that's what I said. They're a superpower.
They
You got-
join forces with Walmart. We're all screwed.
Yeah, no,
Take over
exactly.
the world.
Wow, yeah, exactly. You know what I mean? I mean,
No, I've had friends who do like the princess birthday parties, and if they dress even slightly wrong, Disney will find out, and they find them. And
they
weird,
even
like the
go
mob.
after the burlesque shows. They go after
Yeah.
the burlesque chicks that do, you know what I mean? I mean, you know, and
Well, look at the Star Wars. I saw a thing. There's a burlesque Star Wars.
yeah, like in Hollywood, I saw
it's a-
Yeah,
it's
musical
big.
from
burlesque.
Australia.
Yeah.
Those chicks are from Australia, and
Really?
Disney owns Star Wars, and they don't f around, like you were saying.
Yeah.
You know,
I'm surprised.
try doing Little Mermaid in your children's theater without contacting Disney.
God, yeah, you're done.
Yeah, I mean, and hilariously, no one will accept the Hans Christian Andersen version anymore. You can't turn Ariel into foam. What the hell's wrong with you? You killed the Little Mermaid. F you.
Gotta keep it squeaky clean. For the
Yeah. Happy ending for all. You know.
Yeah, it was more dark, wasn't it? The
Yeah,
original
all of
Hans
the-
Christian.
We're actually doing with my children's theater a series of fairy tales mashed with Shakespeare, and so they've gone to the more darker side of that fairy tales. So, like, we're exposing kids.
The
to that.
ginger man.
Well, let me know when you
the
get
ginger cookie man dies.
Let me
Gets
know.
eaten.
Let me know when you get the Titus Andronicus.
we talked about. It's like, is there a way to work that in? We
Exactly.
don't know yet.
You've eaten both your dogs. But when you look at that, it's amazing because I'll give Disney credit when they did do The Little Mermaid. They made Ursula's clearly based on divine. You know,
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Gun Keene
Female
was-
trouble right there.
I think I think Gun Keene was
Don
doing-
Davenport. There she
Yeah.
is with tentacles.
But he does, and it's Pat Elliott. You know what I mean? She's doing a divine type voice and all that
Yeah.
other stuff. I mean, that's really genius. You know, it's dark, it's cool, it's interesting. You know,
It appeals to different levels.
it totally appeals to different levels. You know,
No.
I mean, that's what fascinates me about it. You know, when you get that sort of thing going on. You know,
Yeah. Well, the villains are always the best part of the Disney movie. So the more you,
Oh,
there's the more adult
they're
side.
pretty creative with the villains.
Scar is a Scar. Jeremy Irons' Scar in Lion King is so
great,
fantastic, and
yeah.
he's a sympathetic villain. You know,
Yeah, you understand where he's coming from. Yeah.
Lion King is essentially Hamlet, which the uncle is the most interesting character because he's the guy trying to do all this, murder his brother, usurp the throne. All that's in there, you know.
Yeah. Well, you look at Hunchback of Notre Dame. That's a dark movie for a kids movie.
Well, considering that the soldier who wants the girl wanted to bang the goat in the original book,
Quasimodo didn't dump in the Disney version. Didn't dump the hot molten metal over the castle and burn all the soldiers.
well, remember they made him more like a
Sympathetic.
They made him more like a sad little brother. He no longer wants to bang Esmeralda. And once you've made the gargoyles real, talking to him, you know what I mean?
I know Jason Alexander is the gargoyle. Yeah.
Well,
all right.
And to me, it's just that to me was lesser Disney. That makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean, Lion King is knee plus ultra. I think Little Mermaid is knee plus ultra. They're at the top of their game.
Yeah.
When you
that
look,
little run there from Little Mermaid to Lion King.
And how about Disney's Tarzan? Then they come out with the action figure. I went into Kenny's shop, and you
the masturbating Tarzan.
It has masturbating action.
He roars when you go like this. It's famous. Punch in Google masturbating Tarzan toy.
He's a poison, but only one hand works.
His hand jerks. I gave that to my little nephew. I bought it for him, and then my sister goes, "What the hell is Tarzan doing?"
I filmed it. All right, I made a little skit. I put it on Facebook, and I went into Facebook jail. You've been reported.
Wow.
What? Masturbating on Facebook? You know, it's all like referring like nudity. I'm like, that's not nudity.
That's a toy.
It was, he was jacking off with his shorts on.
No.
He was pantomime. You know, it's a damn toy, and I get in trouble for it.
Well, you know what I mean. I mean,
they do this stuff intentionally, just like the Little Mermaid on the video box. Remember the phallic
penis?
The guy got fired
on the castle.
The
story behind that.
That was confirmed to me by a Disney artist that he got laid off or fired, and
that was his payback, right? And he snuck that in.
Yeah. Huh. Hang on, I'm trying to find a picture of it for you. Let's see. Here we go. Hold on. Bam. Hold on. I'm looking for it. Let's see. Yeah. Disney. Hold on. Let me punch in Disney's masturbating Tarzan figure. See if that comes up. It was famous. I mean, if I knew it was going to be worth so much money, I wouldn't have given it to him. I would have put it on eBay.
Yeah, held on to that. It's like a stock.
Too much silence.
That's really compelling radio. A guy searching his phone for a picture of a masturbating Tarzan.
What? You're looking that up?
I was going to show him.
Oh, the toy.
Yeah.
Well, I have the video somewhere on my Facebook. It's lost. It's been like 3 years, so I don't know where it is on there. It's scrolling down.
Right, exactly.
Okay, you're fired. Move on. We're getting toward the end of our show here.
We are. So when does Tarzan? When does
no, it's not. Well, give him time. He'll write it.
I'll do a drag version of Tarzan.
Yeah.
That's when you get to meet all the Disney lawyers of class.
Tarzette. We can do Tarzette. Change the gender on Tarzan. Tarzette.
My phone's already ringing. Disney's already mad.
Yeah. We're going to pre-sue you just to make sure, Carver. We're going to knock your family back to the Stone Age. Yeah, Rad repeating Tarzan. He's a straight-up figure there. But to make him roar, you put his right hand like this, and it has to go like this.
Brings the whole thing to the Tickle Me Elmo.
Remember that craze?
The Tickle Me Elmo thing was.
I had to drop $1,000 for.
There was people fighting, parents fighting over it because they wanted their child. Same thing with the Cabbage Patch Kids.
Yeah.
But that was before you found out that the real Elmo was a chicken hawk. You know.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, that did not age well.
Mr. Noodles.
Yes, that was very important.
Oh, Mr. Noodles.
Bam. Okay, this is how he appeared in stores. Here we go. Hold on. The one I showed you was the reissue. This is the original one.
Oh, that was a reissue.
Look where his hand is. That's the Disney's Rad repeating Tarzan.
Yeah,
where Tarzan literally has to. It looks like he's jerking it to make them roar. My sister called me after.
That's Kevin Sorbo right there.
Yeah. Although, leave it to Disney. It was cool of them to give him dreads. I thought that was cool.
Yeah.
There have been a bazillion Tarzans. Nobody thought to give him dreads because he's living in the jungle, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, and it twisted. He doesn't comb his
Say.
hair.
Right.
Like Fabio.
Not like washing it in the stream.
Yeah, I mean, it's Tarzan, man. He's going to use bear excrement or something. But wow. Yeah, so walk us through it. When does it open?
It opens this Saturday. You can get tickets at psychothemusical.com. And yeah, just this Saturday and this Sunday is your only chance to see it.
Wow. Well, what times? What times are the showing?
Saturday is at 9 p.m. Sunday is at 2 p.m.
And the theater is called
It's Oscar's Bar and Grill.
Oscar's
It's
Bar and
Oscar's
Grill.
Cabaret.
Oscar's Cabaret.
What street?
I'm going to say it wrong. Tequise Canyon Road.
Oh, yeah.
Tequise.
My hotel was on that road.
There's a lot of
Yeah,
them.
I was at the. It was when we made the teen sex comedy. It's when they had the antelope or gazelle all over Palm Springs.
Okay.
You know how they did angels with cat faces out here?
Yeah.
At the time we were shooting the movie, it was all gazelles. So everywhere you went in Palm Springs, it was a gazelle.
They're all painted different, like cities do that different.
They're wearing party hats or carrying a beer in their mouth, all that crap, you know? Yeah, Taquito or whatever, I know.
Yeah,
in the
Tequise, whatever it is.
Canyon Road, yeah.
Right there in the main strip, right
The
there.
movie theater is right there, and the hotel we stayed at was across the street. I forgot DoubleTree. They used to leave a cookie on the pillow every morning. I would wolf that damn thing down.
It's right next to the old Hard Rock, which is now something else. Zoso Theater or Zoso.
What were they
Hotel.
thinking? The average and the median age in Palm Springs is 110, and you're opening a Hard Rock cafe.
Same as the temperature outside.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, Lord.
You have to go to Bun Boy to have it any hotter.
It's like the last big weekend before it.
So, Mr. Carver, Chris, where do we get tickets for this?
Psychothemusical.com.
Psychothemusical.com.
Can they go online or just go to the
Online,
show?
or you can buy it at the door. But hopefully we will sell out. So I encourage buying it online.
See, I hate when people brag about selling out.
Yeah, we haven't yet. But we
You
will.
friggin' sell out. Well, it is Memorial Day weekend. And It is fun and it's cool and it's different. And you put a lot of work into it. How long did it take you to stage it this year?
This particular production we did, we spent about a month doing
Wow.
it because everybody had done it before, so we didn't have to put as much time in as we have in the past. But
And everybody is solidly off book now.
oh yeah, everyone's got it down. They better by this point.
And the Arbogast isn't slipping or anything?
No, he's doing all right. He's a pro.
Wow. And is there blood? Is it
There's
like
blood.
random?
Oh yeah, there's lots of blood.
So the shower will have a ton of blood.
Oh yeah, there's blood.
That's
there's
good.
Screaming.
Gotta have blood.
Will you have a splatter zone in the theater?
We don't have a splatter zone. It doesn't come that far out. We keep it on the stage.
It's not like Eric Andre where you had to buy the ponchos, because the whole
dress-
front row gets splattered
Whole
with
Gallagher
whatever.
show.
Well, Christopher Carver, thank you. You were delightful. You were
you,
fun,
thank you, guys.
entertaining. Thank you, Paul Hartman. And tomorrow's show, a real treat. We've got drummer for Cannibal and the Headhunters, Land of a Thousand Dances. Na. Join us for Rockin' Robert Zapata. 7 to 9. He'll be with us for the whole 2 hours, telling amazing stories about the birth of Chicano rock in Southern California. Christopher Carver, again, appropriate name for someone directing Psycho the Musical. Congratulations on playing Arbogast. Who else you play in it?
And Dr. Hedra Block.
Is that his name in the original?
What's that girl?
Oh.
So I play one male character and then a drag character.
Hey,
It's a little crazy.
that spinning sound you'll hear will be Robert Bloch's corpse.
Oh yeah. It's already trimmed a few times now.
One of the terrible stories in the last minute we have. Forrest J. Ackerman, the producer, the editor of Famous Monsters magazine, he supposedly sent a crate of books when Robert Bloch was on his deathbed. And I know this because when I toured the Acker Mansion when Forey was still alive, there was a letter from Harlan Ellison calling him, "You scum, you piece of crap." He supposedly sent a crate of books to Robert Bloch and wondered if it's no trouble on his deathbed, could you sign all 75 copies of these and make a notation it's the last ones you ever did?
Oh, that's horrible.
You know, which, that's one of the Forey stories you don't hear often enough. Anyway, ladies and
Thank
gentlemen.
you for watching and
Christopher
listening.
Carver, Paul Harmon, Steve Joyner, Jazzy Jeff, and everyone else. Thank you for listening. Tune in tomorrow. So long, gang. Chris, you're amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you guys so much. I appreciate
Thank
it.
you for, even though you were the first one here, thank you for being a good sport.
Oh, no problem. No, it was my pleasure.
Jeff, you want to kill the...